What a wonderfully wonderful day, everybody. This is Bern,
And this is Rye.
and you are listening to the Bodacious Rant with Bern and Rye coming at you with our review of the new Wonder Woman 1984 movie. Just dropped on HBO Max. I know it's released in theaters in some parts of the world where theaters are open, so we're here to talk about our non-spoilery and then our spoilery thoughts on it. Right, my buddy?
Exactly, Burn. You have such a way with words, you silver tongued devil, you. But before we get started, how was your Christmas?
It was good. It was nice. It's just me and my brother here. So did absolutely nothing. Did nothing all day except just chill, watch a couple movies. This one and then Soul, which we'll talk about later. But yeah, I mean, I cooked dinner, uh, which took a while, but it was a cool baked chicken recipe that I found. And it had some brown sugar in the seasoning with some what is it, paprika. I was making paprikash as what's her name, Scarlet Witch would say.
I don't know what's in this, but it's not paprika. Not paprika. It's like sorry, he's an android. He doesn't make food for a living. Jeez. But no, that
Taste. Give him a break.
no, that does sound delicious though. That sounds like a good little experiment there. We had roast with potatoes, scallop potatoes. So it's
Or
like
mash 'em, boil them, stick them in a stew.
so we had scallop potatoes with like little cheese and they're all cut up. And then what else? Some green beans, which actually weren't bad the way my mom made them, but I'm not.
Oh,
I
great.
still not.
Potatoes.
I'm still not a green beans guy. In all honesty, and then stuffing again, which was delicious.
Stuffing. Was it leftover stuffing from Thanksgiving or a whole new stuffing?
No, we made more stuffing.
Nice.
You know what's funny too? Stuffing, the whole point of it, I guess what a lot of people aren't doing now is when you make the turkey, you put the stuffing in the turkey, so it gets that like flavor with it. I guess a lot of people aren't doing that now. And I'm like, well, isn't that the whole point of it being called stuffing is to put it in the turkey? Like to stuff the turkey when you make it,
It's
like
supposed to be a stuffing? I don't know. I know, like I said, I've never liked or eaten stuffing really, so I can't really speak.
because you're an uncultured swine.
Hey, I like cranberry.
Sure.
Let's just get this out of the way. Turkey is overrated.
It's good for you.
Yeah, but doesn't mean it tastes good. I like the
Yes,
brown. I like the brown meat. Not gonna lie. When it's
I,
seasoned well, ooh,
I like
fried.
dark meat, but then if it's white and it's dry, that's it's called something called basting. But you also pour gravy on it. Have some potatoes with it. Mix it up a little. Again, expand your palate, you heathen.
Oh, okay. Just 'cause I don't like plain ass turkey.
So I know we're gonna talk about Wonder Woman this episode, and then the next one we'll talk about Soul. But both of these movies coming out Christmas weekend, strictly on streaming again because theaters aren't open for us, and my part of California, so. How'd you feel about it? Because personally, I love the fact that I was able to stream it at home, even though with my family barking during the whole thing. It was still nice to be able to like think like I can watch it whenever I want because Wonder Woman I know is for sure is out for a month on
Yeah.
HBO Max,
And
and it's
Soul
kind of
is Soul on there indefinitely, I
I
think,
think it's
right?
just on there indefinitely. Yeah,
Okay, good.
kind of like Onward was earlier this year, where that was in theaters at one point, but then they put it to streaming quick.
That's true. That's true.
So how'd you feel about it though? Because I personally loved it.
Oh yeah, I really enjoyed it. Being able to watch a new movie from the comfort of my couch with the fire going in the fireplace and had my dinner, all made on my little TV trays. It was nice. It was a cool experience. It was different. For sure. But it's something that I really enjoyed. Being able to pause it when I had to go to the bathroom or something. It's just very convenient, which is nice at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. You could bundle up on the couch, get a blanket going, relax. So yeah, I personally really liked it stream. But Wonder Woman, non-spoiler thoughts. So for those of you who don't know, let's just go over the plot briefly and then we'll give our thoughts. It basically is about after the first one, which it took place in World War One, so that was around the
11, 1912, I think.
was it 1911? Yeah, that's fine. Basically in the 19s and So and then much time has passed. So this took place in, like the title says, 1984, where Wonder Woman has pretty much acclimated into the modern world, and she's still saving people left and right, but in secrecy. So she's not the most known superhero, kind of like in Batman versus Superman.
Yeah,
And yeah, she gets caught up in another adventure where this new villain, Maxwell Lord, comes in to possession of an artifact that basically leads to worldwide chaos, and meeting a new colleague, Barbara Minerva. Shoot, is that her name?
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, Barbara Minerva is her new friend, but soon to become her or arch villain, arch enemy. And we'll get into that in the spoiler session. But overall, I'm gonna give this movie a 3.5 out of 5 rantings right out the gate, just because while it was enjoyable, there were some things I liked it way better than the first movie. Overall, it just, even though the first one I wasn't a huge fan of, this one I felt like was just missing something. I think maybe it definitely dragged on too much for me. I felt like there was a lot more movie to kind of sit through. And even in the comfort of my own home, I thought, man, this could be a little bit faster. But overall, it's free. I'd say if you have HBO Max, it is definitely worth the watch. So, Bern, what were your thoughts on it? What would you give it as well?
Yeah, I think it being a straight to streaming movie might have done it, some favors. And I think it maybe it had it released in theaters, of course, I think it would have made a lot of money, but I think there would have been a pretty big drop off because of the issues that you did mention, that it is a little bit overlong, and I do think the movie does have a pretty good amount of pacing issues, and the plot overall, I think if you really like look at it, there are a lot of issues in the story. But I mean, overall, I would say I would give it a 3 out of 5, and that's a like barely a three. I would say,
Okay.
like, just right on the edge there of being, like a positive review. Because, like you said, there are things that I did really enjoy about this movie. A lot of the action scenes were fun. Chris Pine and Gal Gadot's chemistry is, again, lightning in a bottle. It's fantastic. Um, the introduction of the new characters I thought were pretty good with Maxwell Lord and Barbara Minerva. I really enjoyed them, and I think Petra Pascal and Kristen Wiig really portrayed them pretty well. Like, they did a good job. And oh man, it's like it's a little disappointing, coming from the first one, which I really thoroughly enjoyed. And that one also didn't, have it also had its issues. I think that the third act in that movie really kind of fell apart or didn't do as well as the first two acts, which it happens in movies. Sometimes you don't end on the best of notes, but overall, I think that film was a lot stronger than Woman 1984. So, I think we can get into it a little more about my issues, because my issues are very much in the in the spoilery side, so I can't really discuss them too much. But overall, I think it was a fun time. I'm glad I watched it. It was good. 2.5 hours to kill. Although sometimes it, like you said, it did feel like it dragged on a bit.
Yeah, no, I would definitely not dispute the acting. The acting is still pretty phenomenal with this movie. I mean, in my opinion, I thought everyone did a great job, especially Pascal and Kristen Wiig, which was her first superhero role, and she did a way better job than I thought she was going to
Oh yeah,
do.
definitely.
So so I was very impressed with that. And for me, I was really looking forward to this movie, especially after the DC Fandom trailer and some of the other stuff we saw this summer. But yeah, some things just fell flat with me. We're going to talk about that in just a second. But overall, it was still an enjoyable movie. Definitely a solid sequel, but it's no way better than the first one. It has bits and pieces that are better, and but yeah, overall, it was a tough act, I feel like, to follow after the first one.
I feel like there's a really good movie in here if they just were able to, cut on certain things out of the movie. I think that the movie does have a little fat that should have been trimmed off, and that probably would have bumped it up to making it a pretty excellent movie.
Yeah, I think if maybe it was a little more direct, and honestly, it could have been a little bit darker in certain ways, in my opinion, for it to really kind of show stuff. But anyways, let's get into the spoilers. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have not seen this, and if you have access to HBO Max, we definitely recommend it, regardless of our 3.5 and 3 out of 5 rantings.
Yeah, I
So
definitely people, at least give it a watch. It is an enjoyable movie for the most part.
yeah, and it has some moments again that just kind of make you forget about everything going on, kind of have some positive vibes to it. So that's always good. But the spoiler session begins now, right now.
Coming
So
now.
now, no, 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 not now. Blow it now. So the first thing I definitely want to say what I liked better about this movie was the character design. Strictly just because why I was kind of excited for this movie, especially during the fandom trailer, was that we got to see Kristen Wiig in action as Cheetah, full on Cheetah with the spots, the fur, the tail, everything, and Gal Gadot just rocking the I'm gonna call it the Asterion armor slash golden armor, which was I think very taken from the Kingdom Come storyline, or at least that's the only graphic novel I've seen that where it's basically just a golden eagle battle armor for Wonder Woman,
Yeah.
and it is pretty adapted. I'm gonna say that. Like it's definitely not the same from the comics because it's just fully armored. It's much more sleeker, and but that I loved. I actually really liked it. I loved its purpose, like the use of the wings and this, how they're basically like her shields with that more so just um and then again, Kristen Wiig's Cheeto. Wow. Like she looked awesome in my opinion. What would you think?
Oh yeah, I thought she looked really cool. I didn't know, when they had announced that, Cheetah was going to be in this movie and then that Kristen Wiig was going to be playing her. I didn't know how well that would come across just because I thought, that's kind of a really out there villain and also at the same time a really out there casting where you're like, I wouldn't have thought, Kristen Wiig would have made any short list for, a superhero villain. But I mean, this definitely proved me wrong because I really enjoyed every second that Kristen Wiig was on the screen. I think she did a really fantastic job, playing a role that I haven't seen her. Usually, she's been in a lot more comedies and stuff because of her SNL background. So, I've only really ever seen her in comedic roles. But she really sold Barbara's transformation throughout the film really, really well. And to end it off and with her in full cheetah form and battling it out with Wonder Woman, I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah, and one thing I always forget that I realize with Wonder Woman, because how Superman has Lex Luthor, Batman has Joker, Cheetah is Wonder Woman's, arch villain, her arch nemesis, just because she is always after Wonder Woman. She's one of the few characters in Wonder Woman's, rogues gallery that can keep up with her and really give her a run for her money, especially in Justice League Doom with the animated film where it was a
Oh
take
yeah,
on it was a take on what graphic novel was it? The
uh, Tower of Babel.
Tower of Babel. Thank you. Where that story involved, some of the arch villains or some of the biggest villains in each hero's rogues gallery to band together and try and kill them using Batman's, his contingency plan. And yeah, no, it was great seeing her in that one because she's like, I've always been trying to kill Wonder Woman, and this one again, just that whole thing where she just showed up on that little cliff, essentially not a cliff, but you know what I mean. Like there's a few rocks above Wonder Woman, and even though Wonder Woman again, she's all like goldened up, ready to fight with that impenetrable armor. Cheetah's like,
Mhm.
I don't. She just had that look like I don't care what you're wearing. I'm gonna kill you whether you like it or not. And she just looked great. That fight scene I think was the highlight of the movie for me.
Oh really?
Just oh yeah, like just because again it was really cool seeing that the CGI I thought was pretty well done. Her look of Cheetah, where it actually looked a little more lioness like because of Kristen Wiig's long hair. Because usually Cheetah doesn't, from what I've seen her in, she usually just looks more like a humanoid cheetah, like just short hair, all short fur. So I thought that was really cool. And it was just really well done, especially when she's just hacking at her wings, and Wonder Woman's like, oh, like even she's thinking like, I can't, I don't know much longer I could keep this up. Um, so I thought that was pretty cool, which I also really like the story that the movie did for this armor, where it was all of Themyscira's, armor and weaponry put into this suit
Hmm.
to basically help the original warrior Asteria fight off the world. I thought that was really cool, like a nice little touch. And I'm going to come back to that in a little bit, but that was one of my favorite things. Just the design overall was great. Um, but one of the things too, while I did love this fight, I felt like some of the choreography and some of the action scenes, like especially the mall one in the beginning, I thought was
Uh-huh.
a little too slow. It looked weird. It looked
Yeah, it was like slow but kind of weightless at the same time. You know what I mean?
weightless, yeah, where it didn't really like what she's using she used the lasso a lot more, which I really liked,
Yeah, I like the use of the lasso a lot. It was really very creative, I'll say.
but I think because of the weightless feel, it gave the illusion that it's almost it kind of took you out of the illusion that okay, this is definitely a stunt work. This isn't really like
Hmm.
something Wonder Woman could like do. I don't know. It just kind of took me out of the realism of it, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because if you compare that fight scene in particular, and I guess in the bigger span of things, all the fight scenes in this movie, and compare it to the fight after the no man's land scene in the first movie, where
Hmm.
she's like where she breaks the line and she goes into that town and liberates it. Right, the action in there was very kinetic and fierce, and like you said, it has like weight to it and stuff. So if you compare the action scenes like just in terms of in that, I think the scenes in the first movie are a little stronger in that aspect because I think the reason they made the choices they did in this movie was to, I guess, in a way emulate or like pay homage to like 80s action movies, because 80s action movies were kind of like that, a little bit weightless, a little bit more fantastical and unrealistic.
I was gonna say fantastical, yeah, because there were some things in those '80s movies. I'm like, yeah, right, that would happen. And
Uh-huh.
given this is a superhero movie, so again, this is all fantasy. Like, who are we kidding? But again, it was just the way that it was done. I thought, I don't know how I feel about it. Not that it was bad. The choreography was still pretty. It looked good, but again, I think just because it moved a little slower than I felt like it should have, it kind of killed it for me. But back to the whole cheetah thing, her design compared to Ares in the last one, and even the boss fight from this one to the first Wonder Woman, again, no comparison. This was way better.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I'll say that that was definitely one of the better parts of this movie that improved upon, the first one, that final battle or confrontation really, and in the Cheetah fight. I think Cheetah was a much more interesting villain, and not to bash on what's his name, David Thewlis.
David Thewlis, I can't really say his name, but yeah, exactly. Basically,
David Thewlis played Ares,
yeah.
or Lupin from the Harry
Professor
Potter.
Lupin, thank you. I couldn't forget his name. I couldn't remember it, but thank you for that. But
Yeah, like we were talking about it the other night. He's not a bad actor, but just the way they used him in that first movie was just kind of weird. This way he was just very stiff and unimposing, and he's just really like hurling lightning and just random objects at Wonder Woman the whole time at the end of that movie. And just he gets palpatined. He gets a lightning bolt sent right back at him, and he goes out the way of the Papa Palpa. But
Papa Palpa, I like that one. But yeah, no, and that was the thing too. For Ares being the god of war, she could have because I've seen a better example in like not only the cartoons, but also in Injustice the game, where he was a really big part of Injustice One, not so much two, but he just had a unique look, and I was kind of hoping they would do that, but I felt like they really made him look basic. Where Cheetah, I feel like they went all out with like let's really embody this, and Kristen Wiig's performance. The other thing I really liked about was Kristen Wiig and Pedro Pascal. Their addition to it, just because again, yeah, Gal Gadot and Chris Pine were fantastic. I couldn't expect anything less from them. But
yeah,
with
that's standard.
exactly, but with Pedro Pascal and Kristen Wiig added into it, I don't know a whole bunch about Maxwell Lord, and to be honest, I don't know much more about Cheetah besides that she's a cheetah. She's Wonder Woman's villain. That's really all I know. But
Yeah,
Kristen Wiig's performance is very reminiscent of like Uma Thurman in Batman and Robin, not in a bad way, where it's like they kind of dressed her down because Kristen Wiig can be really pretty, and not saying she's ever ugly, but it's just like for comedic purposes,
she cleans herself up for, yeah, exactly.
yeah. But this one, man, she really had a glow up. Like her and Gal Gadot, I was like, damn, you girls are like really competing for, if there was a beauty competition, I'm like, this is a tough one to go with because they're both so beautiful in this movie. Gal Gadot just every frame she's in, steals the show. But then when Kristen Wiig started kind of getting into her villain like self and looking like better, it was like, damn, she has style, she has flair. Like it was really nice to see Kristen Wiig doing that because the only other dramatic movie I've really seen her in technically is Bridesmaids, which is a dramedy, and then The Martian. But she didn't do much in The Martian just because she was
Yeah.
like a PR position. So
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think the character is really brought up by the strength of her performance because of just how good of a job she did. Because the character itself is a little bit of a, I don't know, like a little bit of an archetype that we've seen already. Like in a
mhm.
lot of, like you mentioned, it's very similar to Uma Thurman's Poison Ivy character. Also very similar to Jamie Foxx's Electro character.
Or
You know.
Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, which essentially this was what it was.
Yeah, and Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, where you have this like nerdy person that's kind of like ignored by the world, and then get their powers and become evil, and then everybody notices them and stuff, right? Like we've seen that before, and it's a little bit of a cliche at this point, but again, she does such a good job in the role that I was able to look past that and really appreciate her performance and her role in the movie as Cheetah, and I think she did a really good job with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And Pedro Pascal, it's so weird seeing him do something outside the Mandalorian now or something where he's a villain just because, Game of Thrones, he wasn't necessarily a villain, just like an extra, plot line. And Triple Frontier, he was part of the core group. But this one, it was just so different seeing him as the villain. And, I know a lot of people are comparing to Donald Trump, which I definitely could see had some Trump-like attributes for this character just because he's down on his luck trying to blame the world for his problems and he doesn't and he's just it's pure greed that's driving him but not necessarily pure greed but it's greed but it's also just him trying to prove something to not only himself but his son and it just completely blinds him. He did a great job exemplifying that like that he's dealing with his own issues while trying to put on this show that I'm still a man, I could get this done, where Donald Trump's just an asshole. So I'm gonna say that where Pedro Pascal, he was. It's so weird seeing him all kind of whited up, even though he is Hispanic in this movie too. But it was just like the blonde hair. I'm like, dude, I don't know, man. You gotta go back to the brunette, dude. It's hard to see you like this.
Yeah, he did a really good job on in that aspect of really showing the deterioration of this character throughout the events of the film as they unfold.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, and like in the terms of the comparisons there, I do think they really did take a lot of influence of this sort of outward personality that he likes to give off as this like successful businessman when in reality they're very much a failure, in a lot of the things that they did, through the fault of their own or not fault of it. It doesn't really matter. It just matters that they're not as successful as they portray themselves to be, right? And I thought he did a really good job of humanizing that aspect of it coming down to him wanting to make his son proud of him or do right by his son because it seems like he feels like he's probably failed him a lot with whatever happened between him and the kid's mom. There's their marriage failing and that relationship failing and just him trying to compensate for that and a lot of other past failures and mistreatments that we see like at the end of the movie with his like flashbacks to what his upbringing was like and stuff. So again, I think much like Kristen Wiig, Pascal did a really good job of breathing in life to a character that again we've also kind of seen that archetype before, the big businessman who's really a failure and down on his luck and will do anything to get the power back or whatever. But again, just through the power of his performance, I think it really really did a big credit to this movie.
Yeah, no, and again, I know he's drawing a lot of comparisons to the Trump thing, which again I could see, but I was like, yeah, I don't want to think about it that way. I just want to think about it as this character, And I was like, I could see where he maybe got his inspiration from, but
Hmm.
overall, it's still Pascal's own iteration of it, and again, he's just proven that he can do almost anything, and I do want to keep seeing him do not only do more gritty roles, but at the same time maybe more superhero stuff as well. Besides the Mandalorian, actually, he was in that new movie Robert Rodriguez just did, where it's like the whole Shark Boy Lava Girl movie. So technically, he's a superhero in that too.
I think I saw like a preview of that on something like a YouTube ad, or it was like, what? They're bringing that back?
Well, I'm just bummed that they didn't bring Taylor Lautner back for Shark Boy because they brought the original girl back, who she looks beautiful. But it's like, okay, if you're gonna bring the original girl back, why not get Taylor Lautner? What is he doing with his life right now? Like, is he that busy he can't do it, or did you just not want to work with him? But
He's just waiting for the Grown Ups 3 script.
oh God, please no more grown-ups.
He's just waiting to work with Adam Sandler again.
Oh God. But plot-wise, why? Before we finish this one up, just because I basically said everything I wanted to say. Like I love, the character development that, and then Chris Pine just being playing the man out of time was hilarious. Just the whole dress
Yeah,
up scene and the museum, like he was really just. It's like. Because again, he has been dead since World War One, so a lot of crap has changed, even by the '80s, which the '80s technology by our standards is just ancient. Not ancient, but
but it's already outdated by
yeah,
this
it's
point.
way outdated. So that was really enjoyable to see. And Gal Gadot again, just how it totally flipped. I love the roles from that in the trailer, and I loved it in this movie so much more.
Mhm.
But for me, I don't know about you, but the plot was lacking in the whole like maybe the stone thing, and then I don't know. It just what do you feel like it fell flat? Because maybe you can give me some enlightenment on that, like because I can't quite pin it, like why it fell flat for me.
I think it just boils down to that there was a lot of needless elements that could have been cut out of the movie because they really didn't add anything more to the fact. Like just the fact that the wishing stone is shown to just give you your wish, how like just like that, boom, there you get it. And the fact that they made it to where Steve Trevor comes back in some other guy's body, that's like then this just makes no sense. Like if they were able to make nukes, appear at the end of the movie out of thin air and then just disappear like that, or make that wall in Cairo,
Hmm.
appear out of nowhere. Like why not? That was just a weird decision they made, that he had to come back in like someone else's body. So that was just kind of dumb for no reason. Like why not just bring him back, and then when she rescinds her wish, he just disappears again. Um, so I don't know. Is there anything you want to say on that aspect? Because I
That
have.
was I would say I thought it was kind of grounded, but now that you just did point that out, I'm thinking like, yeah, why wouldn't he just reappear as himself? Like that is a little.
Mhm.
It's like a way of grounding it, but then when they do all that in the end, that was like, okay, so why don't we just do that for this aspect? Or the wish thing was really interesting. I feel like it wasn't as clear at first. I think they definitely relied too much on Pascal, really his dialogue to really show what it was, which
Mhm.
it's not completely terrible, but it was a little too obvious. Where I think they could have done it with other scenes that it's like, okay, your wish has been granted. I'm just gonna like. I think they could have done it a much more smarter and exciting way. Where instead of where he did that oil guy in Egypt, the oil tycoon guy.
A baron, some would say.
What does an oil baron do? It crush your enemies into the ground. But I think that whole thing could have been done a lot better. Where instead he's like, "Well, then I'll take your oil." It's like, "Well, I just sold it." It's like, "Well, then I'll take your security." It's like, I think if he already knew about that because he's been following up on the oil news, that it's like maybe you heard that from somewhere or something. It could just been done smarter. I feel
Yeah,
like it was some things were a little telegraphed too much, and I think that's what added on to the whole time frame in this movie. Is like, okay, we could have cleaned this up a lot better, you
exactly.
know?
Like
Because
again, just that whole. Oh yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
no, 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 no. Your thoughts? What were you saying?
Just the whole Cairo section was 100% needless. Like we didn't learn anything new. We got a good action sequence. I did like that caravan chase. That was pretty cool and it was a lot of fun. But at the end of the day, they follow him all the way to Cairo. They don't capture him. They don't learn anything until Barbara calls them and tells them, that she's got a little bit more information on what the stone is. But he just goes. Maxwell Lord just goes over there and just does bad guy stuff, which doesn't even tie into the end of the movie. So it was like, what was the whole point of this whole Cairo scene? A good like 10, 15 minutes of the movie where we did get a good action sequence, but nothing in the plot progressed. It was just we go over there, she gets a call, okay, we're gonna come right back to DC. Like it was just like, okay, it feels like we just wasted time here.
Yeah, and then I guess another thing was like they brought the invisible jet into this whole thing, but that was only used for strictly
Hmm.
the Egypt scene. And it's like, okay, are we gonna give her the invisible jet or are we gonna make her fly? And then when the end they kind of let the whole flying thing happen, I thought, then what was the point? I don't know. It was just like trying to throw in so many Wonder Woman like throwbacks and Easter eggs, but it didn't follow through with some of it. So I think that was maybe another thing why.
Hmm.
But so yeah, that's why. Like I said, I think it was just. I feel like this movie didn't know whether to follow through stuff or to backtrack certain things, and I think that's what kind of made it a little unsteady and why I didn't really invest in this movie so much. But I will say this: the other thing I absolutely loved was Linda Carter's, cameo and the
Oh yeah.
fact that she was Asteria herself. I thought that is super cool to bring in the
Doesn't.
original Wonder Woman actress, who again has timeless looks. Like holy crap, she still looks good. Even
Oh
from
yeah.
Sky High, she looks fantastic.
Heck yeah. I do agree there. Like, I thought the whole mythology behind the Asteria thing was a nice little like tip of the cap to her Wonder Woman series that aired like what was it back in the 70s or the 80s around that time,
I think it was
which
also the 80s.
yeah, which a lot of people really enjoyed. I personally haven't seen it, but I know of Linda Carter and all this stuff. It's just part of the pop culture zeitgeist that at this point. I just really wish that they. I do really really like the stereo that gold armor is absolutely fantastic. Whoever designed that in the costume department deserves a nice round of applause.
They
But I
deserve an
just
award for adapting one of the coolest armors. I still would try if they bring it back. I think they could definitely lean more into the Kingdom Come stuff. But back to you.
yes, I just they wish they would have contextualized it within the film a little bit more in terms of why she needed to use it. Because at this point in the movie, there's no need for a costume change for her. Like, I mean, she like right before she goes to get it, she rescinds her wish and gets her powers back. So that just felt like an odd decision to make. Like, okay, so you got your powers back and stuff. Why do you need a costume change by this point? Like, I felt like if they would have done it to where don't get rid of Steve Trevor that early. Have him make it all the way to the end of the film. Where they're at that satellite station and have Wonder Woman need the armor because that was her trade off for wishing Steve Trevor back. She's starting to lose her abilities. She's taking damage now. She's a little weaker. She can't do all the things she was able to do. So I felt like maybe if they would have contextualized it to where they'd find out he's in the satellite station and then her and Steve are gonna go there and she's like, hold on, I need to get that armor because that armor, like you said, it was imbued with the power and the weaponry and all that stuff for Asteria to basically one man army their escape. So I felt like if she used that armor as a crutch, in the finale of the movie, I think it would have contextualized that a little better. And to have her rescind her wish at the end of the movie with the rest of the world, I think that would have been a little bit more powerful.
Yeah, very much like Iron Man Infinity War, where it's like,
Hmm.
he's fighting Thanos as much as he can, but no matter what he does, he just keeps destroying the armor. Actually, now that actually would have been way better, just where it's like Cheetah's tearing at that armor, even it is as strong as it is, Cheetah's just a little bit stronger, but it's only when she really needs to get her powers back. I think that would have been a little bit better. Again, like it's hard not to be super predictable with this movie because that would probably we've seen that kind of in times before, but it would just made more sense. Yeah, it's just very, very, very weird choices with the plot, but overall, still worth the watch because it's free.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. The fact that I was able to watch it, free from, the comfort of my own couch really, I do think really bumped up my enjoyment of the movie overall.
Still better than most of the Netflix library of original films.
Oh, I mean, that's they
Oh
just
man.
putting out whatever, I guess. They're just funding everything. Maybe we should make a movie, get some Netflix funding.
Oh my God, if we got on Netflix, I would be ecstatic. Like, dude, it's not in the theater, but you can see it at Netflix at home, your own home theater.
You're welcome.
But yeah, like I said, the Wonder Woman theory's already been greenlit, so I'm hopeful for that one. I, I I would love to see it maybe modern day and maybe see another hero or something join her. because they did have some Easter eggs for this one, like the whole kingdom in Egypt was supposed to be a hint to Black Adam in his movie, just because it was like talking about his country essentially. So I kind of want to keep seeing that. I think the DC movies, even though they're still in their own little separate storylines within the extended universe. It's like they could definitely still connect each other in that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I do think that a lot of the little Easter eggs and stuff were really good in this movie, and I don't know if maybe I've been coming off a little too negative and in the spoiler section of the review, but a movie that I would liken it to would be Guardians of the Galaxy 2,
Mm.
where it was a little bit more it wasn't what I was expecting, obviously. And I think that movie was kind of like a little aimless at times, which this movie is like very much where things are just happening, like the plot's not progressing, but things are just happening in the movie and the characters are just doing things. But maybe after some time has passed and look back on it, maybe I'll have that same effect that that Guardians 2 did, where I see it not as a traditional movie where the plot is driving it, but more so the characters. And I will say that I do really like the characters in this movie. So I mean that's what kind of made me really like Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in retrospect. More the fact that there was a lot of really good character work going on there. And I think there was a lot of good character work going on in this movie too. So again, maybe I seem a little negative now, but there's a chance for it to be like, oh, it was actually pretty good.
I'm rewatching it now, and I'm definitely liking some of the other things more. So yeah, we'll have to see what happens with Wonder Woman 3, what villain they'll bring, or if there'll be Cheetah returns, maybe the Asterion armor returns. I don't know, but it'd be cool to see all that stuff come back and form another. But
Yeah, that would be pretty dope. Just as long as they keep, I think they need to just keep Jeff Johns away from the screenwriting part of the movie, just because of what he did with Justice League and then now this movie. I don't know. I mean, he's a great comic book writer, and I do see a lot of the elements of like a comic book arc in the
mhm.
movie. I just think, I think they just need to bring one of the writers back from the first movie to really tighten it back up and make it work in a 2 hour movie.
Yeah, I don't think Jeff Johns is cut out for films, to be honest. He great with comics, but so far the things he's been involved with have kind of sucked a little bit. So
To put it lightly.
yeah, to putting it honestly, I'm just gonna be honest. It's like again, just stick to what medium you're best at. It doesn't hurt to try, but if he messes up on another project that he's like involved in, whether it be producing or writing or anything, it's like okay, 3 strikes you're out, pal. I don't think you're doing anybody as much of a service.
Yeah, yeah, but I'm glad they're bringing Patty Jenkins back. She does show that she does really have a really good artistic eye, and I do see where she is drawing a lot of influence from from what I've seen her say in like behind the scenes interviews and stuff that she's really inspired by Richard Donner's Superman movies with Christopher Reeve, and I do see a lot of those influences in this movie and in the last movie, and I think she does a really good job of bringing those sensibilities into like modern filmmaking. So I am glad they are bringing Patty Jenkins back to direct a third one.
And she just knows how to really write Wonder Woman as a phenomenal hero, more so than just like past works have done, where she's just like she's one of the big three of DC, and her movies so far have definitely proven why she is up there. So yeah, keep the work up, Patty Jenkins. But that'll do it for me for the Wonder Woman review. Do you got anything else to add, my good brother?
Just a big tip of the hat to, a lot of the people who worked in the props and the set and the makeup and hairstyle and, costuming and stuff, just because I think they did a really good job with the 80s setting with we didn't really get to explore it much, but what was there it was really nice to see. And I know they all have a lot of fun. A lot of those people have a lot of fun doing the 80s stuff. So I think they did a good job with it in this movie.
Yeah, no, the setting, the art, the character design, and the props department did a fantastic job because some of these people really like even the computers, the little small details that they have, like technology, the clothing. It really did make you feel like you're back in the 80s, and like you said, a lot of people do have fun with that because the 80s had a lot of questionable stuff back then. With
Chris
great
Pine made
things.
the little what do you call
Parachute
this?
pants.
Yeah, he made him look good, but I mean that guy can make anything look good.
The whole fanny pack thing, that
all the
dressing scene
fanny
was
pack,
hilarious.
all the outfits had a fanny pack.
I know you're not going to agree with this look, but I think this is good. I think we could do better. And just, can we keep the shoes? We'll keep the shoes. We're good with the shoes. Okay, good. Like,
He
that's the
just
one
likes
thing.
that era.
And then just, oh man, no, again, their chemistry and his comedy in this. I'm glad he had more comedy in this one than the last one. Like, not to
Yeah.
say Chris Pine's a bad actor, but in this one, at
But
least he's a lot more fun to watch.
yeah, in the first movie, he was like the straight man to, Diana's or, Gal's, a little more comedic sensibilities. Because in that one, again, she was a woman out of time and just, experiencing everything. And it was just really fun to watch. And again, with the role reversal in this one, with her being the straight woman and then him being, the more funny, the more funny character, they did a really good job and their chemistry is great.
Exactly. But I think that'll do it for us, ladies and gentlemen, with the Bodacious Rant. Like I said, Byrne gave it a 3 out of 5 rantings, and I gave it a 3.5 out of 5. So, like we said, if you haven't seen it, definitely worth the watch. Go check it out on HBO as soon as you can, because it's an enjoyable movie, positive vibes, great action. You shouldn't miss it.
Yeah, and the
But
message of the movie was really nice too. I'll say that. I didn't mention that in my reviews part of it, but yeah, I do think the overall message of the movie was a really good one to have, especially in the holiday season.
yeah, it's basically like the mentality I've had this whole year that whatever we're going through, somebody else is going through. So in the end, you're not alone. And just remember, there's always somebody who has a same, worse or better. The point is, we're all in it together. So that's all we got to think of. But next time, when we come back, we're gonna be talking about Soul, the movie that premiered this Christmas Eve on Disney Plus this Christmas weekend. So we'll be back with that. But until next time, everybody keep on ranting and stay bodacious.
Yeah, stay wonderful, you wonderful people. Did I say wonderful enough? Wonderful, wonderfully.
It's a wondrous time to be in this wonderful era. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's quite a wonder.
All right, I'll talk to you later, brother.
Alrighty, my man.